Welcome to This Explainer. Look, today we're going to take a seriously mind-bending journey through the framework of invariance ontology. We're going to zoom all the way out to the vast absolute unity of the cosmos and then drill all the way down into the microscopic anatomy of your own brain. And by combining ancient metaphysics with cutting-edge quantum physics, we're going to uncover why our everyday sense of being separate, isolated individuals is, well, it's actually an elaborate illusion. I want you to really think about something for a second. Does the boundary you feel right now between yourself and the rest of the universe actually exist? Or is it just a trick of localized perspective? We walk around every day feeling like we're looking out at a world that is totally separate from us. But what if you aren't a separate being at all? What if you're simply a localized wave in an infinite ocean of universal awareness? To really wrap our heads around this, let's rewind a bit. Ancient Neoplatonic philosophy described the ultimate level of reality as the One, a completely singular, unfragmented source. We're not just talking about some abstract higher power here. We're talking about pure, undivided unity before any categories or distinctions even exist. In this state, the boundaries between the knower, the knowing, and the known completely collapse. They become a single, self-luminous triad of pure being, pure awareness, and pure bliss. So here is how we're going to break this all down today. We'll start with the unified source, move on to the quantum vacuum, take a look at the brain's quantum antenna, explore the illusion of separation, and finally, discuss returning to unity. All right, part one, the unified source. This brings us to a really crucial concept, emanation. Imagine the universe unfolding from the One, but not by breaking apart like a shattered mirror. Instead, it unfolds through a process of localization. The source itself stays globally undivided. The localization just introduces a restricted perspective. It's exactly like an ocean. The ocean doesn't break into pieces to make waves. The wave is just a temporary, localized expression of the water, but the ocean itself is never actually divided. Moving right along to part two, the quantum vacuum. Now, what's wild is how modern physics actually serves as a scientific echo of this ancient philosophy. Take the Rieschler theorem in quantum field theory. It shows us that on a universal scale, the global vacuum is pure. It's maximally entangled, completely whole, and self-consistent. But if we artificially restrict our perspective to just one finite local region, essentially ignoring or tracing over the rest of the cosmos, that local area suddenly appears mixed, impure, and disconnected. That separation, it's just a mathematical artifact of our limited perspective. Which naturally leads us to part three, the brain's quantum antenna. So you might be wondering, how does this incredibly vast cosmic reality interact with us on a biological level? Well, let's look at the physical architecture of your mind, specifically the cortical microcolumn. This is a tiny neural network made up of about 100 neurons in your cortex. And right inside this tiny column is a dense pool of the neurotransmitter glutamate. According to some absolutely fascinating research by physicist Joachim Kepler, this setup isn't just standard biological hardware. It actually acts as a quantum receiver. Kepler's work outlines a brilliant three-stage process. First is ignition, where this glutamate pool undergoes a phase transition and resonates directly with the electromagnetic zero-point field, the fluctuating fundamental energy of the universe. Second, this triggers an avalanche, forming a macroscopic coherence domain where the whole microcolumn operates as one unified quantum state. And finally, critical dynamics kick in, generating an internal microwave field that physically regulates how your neurons fire. This whole mechanism brilliantly illustrates how the brain actively couples with the cosmos. Through incredibly rapid dynamics in your brain, something akin to the dynamical Casimir effect, where fast-moving boundaries generate real particles from nothing, your brain actually amplifies latent quantum vacuum fluctuations into a measurable 30 gigahertz microwave field. Your brain is literally pulling informational structure straight out of the universal vacuum. And all of this universal coupling creates a state neuroscientists call self-organized criticality. It's an exquisitely synchronized, highly balanced brain state. Here's the kicker, though. This critical state, which is orchestrated bottom-up by the zero-point field, is the exact physical prerequisite for conscious awareness to even emerge. Without that cosmic coupling, there is simply no consciousness. Okay, part four, the illusion of separation. So, if our awareness is fundamentally drawn from a unified cosmic field, what does that mean for your sense of being an individual? The profound twist here is that the brain doesn't generate its own isolated consciousness. It simply constructs a simulated subject by sampling the quantum vacuum. The mind behaves as if it's an independent observer looking out at a separate world. But really, the observer is the observed. Both are just reflections appearing in the single mirror of pure awareness. We build these boundaries through a process of negation, literally saying no to the infinite void just to establish a localized me. This creates a heavy, false sense of boundaries known as spiritual mass. It's a lot like a metaphor where a woman named Mary dreams she's a separate person named Jane walking through a forest. Jane feels totally isolated. But when she wakes up, she realizes there was never a forest and there was never a Jane. It was only ever the single, indivisible mind of Mary. Our self is just a functional simulation, much like Jane. Finally, part 5, returning to unity. The sources actually frame our lives as this trial of existence, a journey to ultimately see through this exact illusion. The philosophical term for returning to the one is epistrophe. It's about dissolving the ego's false boundaries through mindful attention, dropping our embodied resistance until we reach a realization called Aham Prakasha, the recognition that I am light. In that state, you realize you were never just a separate fragment of the universe. You are the luminous source of perception itself, abiding in perfect still joy. And just to ground this in hard science again, this isn't just lofty poetry. Kepler actually proposed a physical experiment for this. The idea is, if we were to implant special, perfectly conducting plates into the cortex to physically block the brain's microcolumns from interacting with the 7.8 terahertz modes of the zero-point field, local consciousness and neural criticality would completely break down. If you cut off the biological antenna's connection to the unified ocean, the wave of consciousness simply ceases to exist. We've covered a ton of ground in this explainer today, traveling from the absolute unity of the one through the entangled quantum vacuum right down into the microwave fields of your brain. So I want to leave you with one final provocative thought. If both modern physics and ancient metaphysics agree that your separation from the cosmos is a total illusion and your mind is merely an antenna tuning into the universe, who is the you that is actually listening right now? Thanks so much for joining me on this explainer. Keep exploring.